watched Halloween 6 twice. Okay, so real talk. I actually watch these movies like 3 times usually to get everything straight for these reviews, but the second and third watch are usually like on 2 times speed because I value what's left of my sanity. So, Halloween 6 has 2 different cuts, and up until now, I have been strictly only watching theatrical releases for the sake of an even playing field when comparing. But to be fair, this is really the first time the 2 cuts are different enough to really change the movie. So I decided to watch both. And I'm not going to make a habit out of it, okay? An unrated cut usually isn't worth the extra work most of the time. Most unrated cuts are just 10 extra minutes of gore and a slightly longer throat noise. That's not a movie, that's a DVD bonus feature with commitment issues. An extra 10 minutes of gore is not going to change my opinion of a movie. I also tried to fit all of this into a single TikTok video, but it's very limiting on time, and I'm sorry. I also hate two-parters. I feel like I've disappointed a small but very loud demographic. Okay, disclaimer done. Review time! The theatrical release of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, is janky, like noticeably rough. There are sudden jumps in the storyline, scenes feel disjointed, people know things we haven't established they know. It's sloppy. More so than the other movies have been. All their faults aside, they felt like whoever was editing them did their job sober. It feels like the editor for this movie was going through a bad breakup while cutting it. We start out with Jamie, now grown and extremely pregnant, trapped in the basement of a collapsing pipe factory. She gives birth to what can only be described as a 4-month-old tax deduction. Immediately, the cult takes the baby and draws the Thurisaz rune on it, because of course they do. Nothing says ancient evil ritual like something that looks like it came out of a minimalist tattoo page. The Thurisaz rune is also called Thorn, and everyone keeps calling it the Thorn cult, so I guess that's just the name we're going with. It's fine, I just think Thurisaz sounds cooler. A brave nurse steals the baby back and gives it to Jamie and helps her escape. Michael then shows up because the cult seems to be using him like an attack dog with no off switch. Brave of them. Michael is back to being just massive, and I think this movie frames him as bigger a whole lot more as well. He also comes off as much crueler than he has before. Like, before he'd kill you, sure, but now he's intentionally making it hurt, not just killing people, committing to it. He feels less like random murder guy and more like a process killer. Very methodical, very this is my personality now. Jamie manages to stash the baby before Michael kills her, which feels like the only mercy this movie gives her. Meanwhile, while being chased, Jamie does the smartest thing anyone in this franchise has done and calls a shock jock radio show to beg Dr. Loomis for help, which is honestly kind of impressive. If you're going to scream into the void, at least pick a syndicated void. It appears to be a popular radio show that lots of people are listening to. And for those of you who don't know, radio shows used to be like podcasts. And just her luck, Loomis, all dignified and retired, was listening and did hear her and does come out of retirement to try and help her, along with some random colleague of his. And also listening was Paul Rudd. This is his first movie, and he, Jesus, doesn't really age, does he? Paul, what fucking cult shit did you do to never age, you fucking immortal vampire? Paul is playing Tommy, the little boy from the first movie. What a fun callback. He's deranged now and obsessed with Michael because why wouldn't you be? Tommy finds the baby via radio clue logic that feels like a deleted Scooby-Doo episode. He names it Steven and immediately commits harder to this child than most governments do to their own infrastructures. He's better with kids than Loomis, but that's a pretty low bar. We also are watching the Strode family now, the family that originally adopted Laurie, living in the old Myers house. Now, this is Laurie's uncle and his family. Laurie's dad was a realtor, and in the first movie, he had been trying to sell the old Myers house, and when he couldn't, his brother moved in. Convoluted enough for you yet? John Strode is an absolute piece of abusive shit. And the movie actually remembers that this is a bad thing, which puts it ahead of a few other series I could mention. He gets his, don't you worry. The dynamics are tense, and the movie doesn't really do a good job of explaining it, but I think his daughter Kara had a child very young, and her parents took care of her son Danny, and she has returned after 5 years and is clearly trying to step into the role of his mother now that she's older and better able to care for him. Danny regularly sees the Hat Man telling him to kill, so that's a problem we're going to have to deal with later. He's also willing to stab his grandfather, which, good. Meanwhile, Michael is casing his old home, and he starts taking out the family slowly, and John Boy gets exploded by electricity. Loomis is ranting on about how the evil grew inside of him and corrupted his soul, and he correctly guesses Michael will return to his house, but the reasoning is just not really there. Like, why? because of evil. Loomis, that is not a reason. We also get some aggressively confident Samhain lore dumping. Tommy claims the Thor rune is a constellation. It is not. Constellations do not behave like roaming plot coupons. At some point, Samhain lore in this franchise became less ancient mythology and more guy on a forum explaining things wrong with confidence. And they are back to pronouncing it wrong. You got it right in Season of the Witch. Why did you go back to being wrong? Mrs. Blankenship is the owner of a boarding house that Tommy lives in next door to Kara and Danny, and I like her. I'd let her watch my kids. Danny likes to hang out with her, and she starts giving Danny the only real explanation for why the cult is doing it. And it's almost reasonably correct Samhain lore. The cult reveals that its plan is find unstoppable evil, try to control unstoppable evil, act surprised when unstoppable evil is unstoppable. They've got the strategic thinking of someone trying to adopt a hurricane. The cult just worships evil, I guess. I don't know. They end up at a sanatorium because I don't know. And Tommy wanders around the place while Loomis reconnects with some old friends. And then he finds Kara and Michael, who, for his part, continues being patient in a way that feels almost insulting. He moves through people at his own pace. No rush, no urgency, like mass murder is something he schedules between errands. The cult continues to do cult shit, only to realize, oh no, Michael is a rabid dog and they cannot control him. He slaughters all of them as they scream, why? I don't know, guys. Maybe because this was the dumbest cult plan ever? Ooh, an unstoppable, unimaginable, evil force that lives only to kill. What if we used it to our benefit? Surely nothing will go wrong. They've got the rose colored glasses of a dark romance girly. But he doesn't kill the kids for some reason, which gives Tommy and Kara enough time to grab them and run through the endless halls of pipes. Michael's music sting is a killer electric guitar now, and I was expecting it to turn into some kind of badass metal song, but alas, no such luck. While wandering the hospital, they find the fetus room, I guess, where the cult was trying to genetically create more evil. Tommy offers the baby to Michael in a bait and switch trick, and it's just such a bad idea. Why does Michael want the baby? What do you think is going to happen if you give it to him? What do you think would happen when he immediately realizes you didn't give him a real baby? Somehow it works. They drug Michael, then proceed to beat the absolute hell out of him like a group therapy session that turned physical. At one point, it stops feeling like a final showdown and starts feeling like everyone involved is working through something. It's kind of funny how often Michael gets his ass handed to him by an irate final girl with a 2x4. Everyone gets a go at him. Kara, Loomis, Tommy. Tommy's clearly working through some much needed therapy. Cut to Tommy, Kara, Danny, and baby Steven leaving while Loomis heads back in to attend to business. And that's the end of the movie. Sadly, Donald Pleasance died before they could finish the movie, so Loomis just gets killed off by Michael off screen with some screaming. He deserved a better send off than that, but obviously their hands were tied. This movie suffers from poorly fitting together scenes. I don't know why the theatrical release is so janky. It's hard to follow and a little frustrating because I can almost see the movie that was supposed to exist underneath the bad editing. I'll make my comparison after reviewing the producer's cut, but at this point, even if the cult shit doesn't seem to be everyone's favorite part, it can't be worse than this mismatched skeleton of a movie.